Hi there, I'm Katie Cat, and this week's AstroTarot opens up with the Six of Swords. So we're learning how to navigate through some kind of test or trial, but we're having to navigate it through an emotional terrain. We see these people who are transversing this body of water in a boat that's carrying 6 swords, which are commonly associated with the mind and communications. And there's 6 of them, so there's this balancing quality that is being put in front of us for us to examine. Now they're transversing this body of water that in the foreground is pretty choppy, and in the background, which is the direction that the boat appears to be moving toward, there is a stillness to the water. So it's this quality of transversing through something that is bringing us some kind of trial or turmoil to move towards something more stable, to move towards something that it brings about some kind of resolution, because these people are moving this turbulent place and moving toward a place of balance and stillness. But it calls to how do we engage the mind, because the mind can go in a lot of different places. And if you've ever had to be in a boat, on some water that was choppy, it doesn't matter where the mind necessarily wants to go. You have to listen to the water by way of your body and how to move within it. So it's asking us and pointing to that center in ourselves that we need to listen to in order to transverse this time that's bringing us some kind of difficulty right now. Now, the challenge that showed up for this week is the Tower card. So we have our first major arcana, and this is some kind of aha moment, like seeing something for what it is and having all false pretenses and kind of veils or illusions drop away. We see that this tower is being struck by this lightning bolt, and there's these people jumping out of the tower and falling into this body of water below, which is why it lends this quality of something that's unavoidable, that's bringing about some kind of big change, or something that we see in a flash, as an example. Now, this card is associated with the planet of Mars, and Mars is right now in the sign of Virgo. So there's this sense of us being called to engage in life in a new way and to really have a critical mind with what is actually in alignment with our best long-term hopes and dreams. Now consider that Mars is in Virgo, but so is Mercury, and Mercury is the planet of communications and our mental center and how we see things and how we think about things. And so them coming into alignment in the sign of Virgo is something that we really are literally getting this aha moment this coming week. Now, the way that we're going to get through this challenge, because it's like we're being engaged to do something, or we're seeing something that's allowing some kind of illusion or some kind of thing that we built up in our belief system that was going to happen that is kind of crumbling down. The way to get through that situation is the Page of Swords. Now we have another sword card, and this is actually associated with Gemini and communication. So what conversation needs to be said? What needs to be communicated and shared in order to, get through this challenge that we've been experiencing, or this kind of aha moment that we're seeing in a flash? Is there someone that we trust that we can talk to? Is there someone specific that we need to talk to? That becomes something that can support us during this time. Now, the ultimate outcome for this week came in by way of 3 cards. The Cosmos card, which is pointing to some kind of completion and integration and something coming together, because it is the 21st card, and it has this quality of, being in a state of balance and things coming to a state of completion. And then it's also clarified by the King of Swords, further clarified by the Magician. So there's a lot of energies that are on the table this week that are speaking to a few different things. One thing that I guess I want to remind people about that's going on right now is that Venus is currently retrograde, and it's going in this time where it's kind of going into the underworld, like the story of Persephone. And as she goes into the underworld, she's doing it in the sign of Leo. So it's as if she's investigating this deeper place in her heart, that she needs to explore and bring back up to the surface. Now, while she's in Leo, and when she comes into conjunction with the sun in Leo in about 5 or 6 days from now, we're also going to have this trine relationship with Venus and the sun and the celestial body of Chiron. Now, Chiron is the wounded healer, and it's over in Aries, which is our sense of identity. So there's this, it's almost like we're going into the underworld to collect some kind of aspect of ourselves that we can heal so that we can move on to the next phase of our life. Because if you've done any kind of esoteric work, you know that if you don't look at a situation and examine it for what it is and heal that space, then you keep being connected to re-engaging the karma of that space time and time again. So there's something that's being brought up right now for us to really look at, that we need to consider what it would mean to bring healing to that space. You know, and interestingly enough, the situation that we have over with Venus and the sun, at the time that they come into conjunction, they're going to be in this square relationship with Uranus, because Uranus is over at in Taurus at around 22 degrees, and the sun and Venus are going to be at 20 degrees of Leo, which means they're both in fixed signs, but Uranus is going to be this kind of impetus for big change and the encouragement of big shifts and big changes in some conditionings that we have had in our life by way of belief system that have gotten in our way of progress. And consider that Taurus governs our values, and there's this kind of interconnection and weaving going on in the sky between Chiron and Venus and the sun, as well as the energies of what's going on with Uranus and Taurus, which pings back to Mars over in Virgo with Mercury. And it's kind of like, I guess the visual that's been coming up for me a lot lately by way of how astrology transits influence our lives is it's like this circular gear that has like a locking kind of mechanism to it. So it's almost like a password or like the passcode to get into some really high-tech advanced lock, because it's like different planets come into alignment and they fall into place, and then those planets also trigger other planets, and there's this interplay of energies that show up in each of our lives in a really unique way. So for instance, because a lot of these energies are happening right now around the 20-degree point in Leo, and also the 20-degree point in Taurus, and the 20-degree point in Aries, and the 20-degree point in Virgo, if you have planets in your natal chart that are at 20 to 22 degrees in any of the earth signs, right? Because Virgo and Taurus are both earth signs. That's going to be a trine relationship, and that's going to bring some kind of help or ease to your life. And if you have any planets that are positioned at 20 degrees of, say, any of the fixed signs, so, Leo, Taurus, Scorpio, or Aquarius, that's going to bring a big challenge that brings about a big shift and growth spurt in your life, because challenges, after all, bring us to a place of engagement. But you have other planets and other signs as well. So it's like you have your own riddle, which is why I say we're going through this riddle of the heart right now, because Venus is going into the underworld in the sign of Leo. And it's like she has the lantern of the sun with her as she's going in that space. And she also has the kind of spontaneous help of change and unexpected things through the planet of Uranus, which is supported with the planet of Mars, which is how we engage when we're under pressure and how we engage when we see things clearly, so that we can make the adjustments that we need to for our own health and well-being, and ultimately for the community at large. So, consider whatever challenge is coming to the table for you right now is providing you a work that is bringing you to a place of examining a part of yourself that maybe you buried, but is actually the place you need to bring that lantern to, so that you can heal that old wound and really become the best and most high potential of yourself. So I think the coming months are going to be interesting. And I say that from a personal space as well, because I have my own natal Venus at 21 degrees retrograde in Scorpio, which means that it's being squared by where the sun and the, there's horses that live right behind me. So there's lots of creatures that are flying around, grasshoppers and flies and katydids and all kinds of things. But yeah, Taurus is at 22 degrees, so it's opposite my natal Venus, and then Venus and the sun are at square of my natal Venus, and then of course Mars and Mercury are going to be in a sextile to my Venus. So there's a lot of energies right now that are playing in my own life that I'm starting to look at a lot differently after realizing some of the connections that are going on with my own chart. And in a lot of ways it's framing things very differently for me. So I know this will be an interesting time of going into the heart and really healing some old wound in myself that has been tucked away for some time. But I just send you a lot of love, and I encourage you to go slow and be observant, and don't ignore what you see and what you witness and what you feel, because our heart is our best compass at all times. I send you a good wish, and I hope you're well. Bye for now.